Hi, this is Maggie from Design Code Debug Repeat. Thank you for stopping by my channel. And I'm going to continue working on the little tangram game today. This is where we left off with the game. So I have two shapes, and I'm able to both move and rotate both of the shapes. Looks like I still have some print statements in there, but that's where we left off. And here's the problem I want to solve today. And that is, I don't want you to be able to put a shape down on top of, or in this case underneath, another shape. I think I will have to deal with the shape that's moving. The current shape or selected shape is going to need to draw on top of everything else. So either I'll have to reorder it in its group, or maybe I'll pull it out of the group and put it in a separate group. And that actually solves another problem, which is collision detection with shapes that are in the shape group. So actually, that sort of solves itself, that part of that. What I would like to happen is, if I put the shape down and it happens to overlap with another shape, I want it to sort of nudge itself back in the direction where it started. So say if it started here and I move it and it overlaps, then it's going to nudge back towards exactly where it started, until there's no longer any overlap, wherever that would end up being. And I debated whether I want to create a separate class to hold that information, like the original location information, and then to do the checking for collision and moving backwards. But right now I'm going to put it inside the shape class, which is the sprite that is the class that these shapes are instances of. And then if that seems like that's just too much stuff in one class, I'll pull it out. But I was looking at the command pattern, and generally with the command pattern, you've got one class which is invoking the command and another class which is executing or handling the command. And here, it's really all part of the shape class, so we'll see. I don't want to make it too complicated. So let's start by creating another group, and we'll put the currently moving or rotating shape in that other group so that it can draw on top of everything else. So let's see, I have where are my groups? I have the shapes group and the shadow group. Let's have, let's call it, I guess, active shape group. And this will just create that whenever there's an active shape. Okay, so if it's mouse button down and we clicked in a shape, I've already forgotten what I called it. Oh my goodness. Active shape group. Okay, so active shape group equals pygame.sprite.group. And then let me pass in one sprite, pretty sure, to the constructor initializer rather. Okay, and then we're going to want to remove it from shapes group. So okay, and then if there's a mouse button up, now this is where you would release. So in handle mouse up, I will be passing in that shapes group. Let's not do that yet. So let's just, before we handle it, or rather after we handle it, so we're going to want to handle it, we're going to want to keep the group with all the other shapes separate because we're going to want to do some collision detection. So after we've done that, we'll do shapes group dot, I hope it's add, I don't know what it is, I don't remember, and then shapes group dot empty. Okay, let's put comments in there, or let's see, inform the selection of mouse release and empty the shadow group. We're doing a little bit more. Inform the selected shape of the mouse release, then remove the shape from the selected what the heck did I call it? Shapes group add shapes group. That's not the one I want to empty. It's active shape group. Oh my goodness. Active shape group. Empty. It's a good thing I decided to write a comment. Okay, inform the selected shape of the mouse release. Then remove the, selected shape from the active shape group. And add it back into the shapes group and empty the shadow group. Okay, so here if I click a shape panel with click, or remove the shape from the shapes group, and add to the selected shapes group, active shape group, active. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is just make sure that this is working. So let me just reread it. Current shape is click active shape group. Make a group with the current shape. Shapes group, remove it. And then handle. Okay, so we're going to pass in the shape group here as well. No, probably don't need there. Okay, current shape, handle it, then shapes group, add it back in. Active shape group, empty it out completely. Current shape's none. Okay. Still forgot to check that and everything else I said I was going to check. Okay, so shadow group clear, shapes group clear, active shape group clear. I guess we need to update. If I wrote an update, I can't remember. And let's see. This is temporary, but I don't know when we want to draw that. We're just going to leave the controls as they are. That's temporary. Okay. Active shape group dot draw. So that should put the thing that's moving around on top. So let's see if that works. Nope. Is that right? Active shape group is not defined. Oh, right. Okay, we have to have something. So, okay, where should we create it? Create the shapes. Okay. Well, if we're going to do that, we can just add and remove then, provided add is actually a method. Okay, so this one is on top, it's moving and it's on top. Okay, except for the controls, which we're ignoring, and now that one's on top. Okay, good. All right, so that part's fixed, and we're going to use that, so that's helpful. So when there's a mouse release, that's when we want to do our checking to make sure we haven't dropped a shape on top of the other shape. So in handle mouse up, we're going to pass in the shapes group. Okay, so find handle mouse up. Okay. Okay, so if it was moving, I guess it's the same with rotating. Let's just do moving first, but we have to do the same thing with rotation because we could actually rotate the shape so that it overlaps another shape. We don't want that either, but let's just do moving. So on mouse down, this is if we're rotating, this is if we're moving. We're going to want to store our current location. So let's call that self dot old loc equals self dot rec dot center. And let's have self dot old loc equals. Okay, so we're going to just set the old location here. That's all we have to do in mouse down. So else and this might be something like the old location and the old rotation. These might be things, well, I guess we would do that one separately. Yeah, I guess we'll probably handle that separately. Okay, because we're going to want to rotate back, not zip back. Okay, so handle mouse up doesn't actually have that much code in it. So at least I'm probably not complicating this too much. Okay, so if self.moving, all right, so let's say if moving, make sure this shape hasn't been dropped on another rotate and nudge back toward original location if so. Okay, so we're going to have to start by doing some calculations. And let's go to one of my terrible drawings. Maybe I'll get better at it. What do you think? Probably not. Let's use this as sort of a whiteboard. Okay, so say let's do the square. Maybe I can draw the square better. So, you know, over here or whatever, we have the triangle. And then here's the square in its old location. We pick it up and we move it to here. Now maybe we're thinking, well, I'm going to rotate it and then everything will be perfect, but this is not going to be allowed. So here's self.old location. All right, OL. Okay, that's the center. And here's the new location of the sprite. So what we want to do is we're going to use the distance formula to calculate, we'll call that x, y, and I'm just going to call it hypotenuse. So we're going to calculate x, y, and hypotenuse by subtracting the old location from the new location from the old location. Maybe I should call that start and end. So we're going to subtract end from start. So we're going to calculate the x, we're going to calculate the y, we're going to calculate the h, and then we're going to make unit vectors by dividing x and y by h. So those will be just little units, one in size. And then in a loop, we'll just move backwards. You won't be able to see it. The user won't be able to see it because we're not going to do it in the event loop. We're just going to do it in the shape handling the mouse up. It's going to move back and check for collisions with all the other shapes. That's why I wanted the other shapes in. Of course, there's only one right now, but eventually there will be all 7. When we pull one shape out to move it, there will be 6. We want to check for overlap with those other 6 shapes. So in a loop, we'll check for collisions with all of the other shapes, and we're just going to back up to where we started from because we're going to start with all of the shapes not touching. So we know that we're starting from a state where nothing's touching. If every time we move or rotate our shapes, we make sure that nothing's touching, then we know that we can always go back to where it started. So worst case scenario, there's all kinds of shapes all over the place in this path, and it ends up having to go back to exactly where it started. Worst case scenario. Okay, so let's do that. So if it's moving, the first thing we're going to do is calculate that vector. So let's even just put a little comment in. Oops. So I guess I'll call it x. It's probably an integer. I can't remember if I think the centers of the locations are integers. So actually, let's just call that an integer. It's probably an integer. Okay. X is, and as I said, we're going to take the starting location, which is old loc. Let's call it start loc. I love how I refactor things and then, or don't refactor, change things and don't know where to change them. There we go. X is self.start.loc.center x, and y int is self.start.loc.center y, and that's minus self. Oops, I'm losing a dot there. Self.rect, so this is the current location because we've been moving. Okay, and then we're going to calculate, as I said, that hypotenuse, or I don't know, we could also call it the distance. I'll call it hypotenuse, or that's a float, is. We have math in here, right? Yes, math.square root, and then x squared plus y squared. Okay, and then we'll call it x unit. Float is x divided by sine x, hypotenuse, and y unit float is y. Hypotenuse. Okay, so we got the unit vector for moving backward. Move back to starting location until no longer colliding. Okay, so I don't remember. the collision parameters in order exactly. So okay, so we can just we don't need to talk to that clicked shape. So we can just say if pygame sprite collide self, oopsie, that's still okay. There we go. Self is the the shape receiving the message, and then shapes is what I called it. Okay, false, and we'll use the mask so that we're not doing the bounding rectangle. So if there is a collision, now we're going to nudge the shape backward. Let's go backward by 1 unit, I guess. So let's go self.rect.center equals self.rect.center x plus x unit, self.rect.center y plus y unit. Okay, not if, while. Okay, so check for collision. If there's a collision, we back up. Now, these values, there's going to be some round off, and I feel like we should be doing some boundary checking to see if we've moved beyond the original location. And if we have, then we just want to reset to the original location. But what I'd like to do right now is just see how this works. If I have the general idea correct, or if I've screwed something up massively. So let's start by just, whoopsie, okay. Start loc, oh, okay. Start loc sub 0, start loc sub 1. Okay, did I do that somewhere else? No, I don't think so. Okay, let's try again. Okay, alright, good. So we're able to move without colliding on each other, and they go where they're supposed to go. Now what if we collide? Oh, okay, I forgot to move its rotation controls back. Okay. Every time our rotation controls and shadows are getting further away. Whoops, uh-oh, that time something's wrong. Oh dear, okay. Okay, well, something went wrong there. Let's, good grief, what did I do? Okay, that looks like an infinite loop here. Shoot, and I don't remember what direction I was moving it. It was close to the border, but I don't think that should make a difference. I'm not sure. Okay, so, what do we need to do? Oh, we need to set the, shadow. I'm just looking for calls so that I don't have to. Okay. I want to do, we've got move by. Ugh, okay. Okay, so diff is just the x, y that we're moving by. Huh, I get the diff out of, okay. So, well, that should be just, okay, try again. Okay, that should be a collision, right? And now it's crashed. Okay. Okay, something went wrong there. Interesting. So we've got it partly working, but something's going terribly wrong. Let's see if we can figure it out in here. So I'm assuming we're getting into an infinite loop here. Let's just see if this is our infinite loop. So let's print in backup loop. Okay, and see if we're stuck in there forever, if we can make that happen again. So, I don't know what just happened. Alright. Now how did I... Okay, so it isn't an infinite loop, so it's not responding to me doing anything. Okay, so why... I mean, of course we knew that's where the error was, right? It looked like it was stuck in a loop, and this is the only loop we added. But why? What's happening? Okay, so in our backup loop, is the unit too small? Let's see. So that it's not actually backing up at all. Let's see, maybe that's it. Okay, we're fine. Now, no, we're stuck. Ah, okay. We have to round those up. Okay. So we'll try math.ceil. It doesn't matter the distance, it just has to do with the angle. Okay. Okay. Okay, that's never happening. Alright, so if it's negative, if it's a negative value, is math.ceil is rounding it up to 0, even though, right, we would want to floor it. Let's try. Let's see. I mean, I don't know, they do appear to jump in weird locations, especially if we do this. Because you feel like, well, I just swooped in from here. But I don't want to be constantly checking for collisions as we're moving it and then sort of move it back in the way it was currently sliding. I don't know if that's going to feel better. For now, I think I just want to get it working so there's no collisions, and then I'll decide if the gameplay just really doesn't feel right, because that does feel a little strange. If it had gone back exactly to where it belonged, that would be different. Alright, I think that fixes it, though. I think that was the problem. Not a theoretical problem so much as a problem of programming. That didn't seem right. I can't even remember where I came from at this point. I think that's part of, I need to boundary check to make sure I'm not moving way past the original location. So maybe we should try to solve that. We can definitely take this out, because I think we've solved these other problems. But let's just solve that one last problem of boundary checking to make sure we haven't moved beyond this original location. And we do want to set self.startLoc, I guess, back to nothing. Right? Although, I don't know how good that is. Is that what I set it to? Should have set it to 0, 0, I guess. Not that that's any good. You know, I think I want to fix another thing first, because we're rounding these, we're going to introduce so much error every time. So let's just move that code. So while we're colliding, we'll do the calculations. And that way, they might change as we move, so we can adjust. Let's just see first of all if that looks any better. Okay, so I'm going to rotate it. Okay, so I want to go right up against the thing. Yes, it's still going way over there. That's where it started though, right? So that makes sense. So I have to learn as a user to do this in multiple steps. I don't like that. So I just, oh, yeah, makes sense. I think that's better. Yeah, I think that's better. All right, well, at least you can't put them down on top of each other anymore, and we'll maybe come back next time and do basically the same thing for the rotation controls, but that's all I have time for today. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Maybe you have some motion similar to this that you want to do in one of your games, so I hope that this is helpful, and I'll see you next week.